Hey, today I'm talking to a Chicago farmer or Cody Dykoff. Did I say the last name right?
Decoff, close enough. I've been called worse.
Well, Cody, we're so excited to have you back at the fest this year. You know, uh, this is the first time. Well, it's not your first time in lacrosse with the full band. Because you actually played in the right before COVID just shut everything down at Pearl Street, and I saw you there.
Yeah, I believe that was February of 2020. We pretty much spent all of 2019 preparing for our big album release and tour in 2020, and it got cut short. But at least we got a few in, and I'm glad we at least got back to lacrosse for one.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. For the people who don't know your new band, who are the members and how do you interact and what is the Chicago Farmer 2.0 look like?
Yeah, so for the longest time, whenever I've made a record, I've usually made my records with friends. And then sometimes I would go play like the record release shows with them, or sometimes I would just go back to being a troubadour all by myself. And I would get to these venues and they say, "You're just you and your guitar. You don't sound like your record or anything like that." And we would do specialty shows with me and the band because I am kind of a folk singer to the core, But I just wanted to mix it up a little bit and still give all the attention to the songs, but get a group of people together that could really just help me put the poetry in motion. And so one of my oldest friends, Jake Willis, he's also a fellow troubadours on guitar and singing. And then there's a band called Bones Jugs. They're a great jug band from Urbana, Illinois, and they've been a rhythm section playing together for well over a decade. So they're the rhythm section, and we got us a little hot 4-piece band that helps put the Chicago farmer poetry into motion.
Well, you call the drummer and the bass player the rhythm section. That
Yeah,
that drummer is you get more than just drum out of that guy. Yeah, he's pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
yeah. He's an amazing multi-instrumentalist, and he asked me one time if I would mind if he tried playing piano and drums at the same time. And I said, no, I would definitely be interested in seeing how that would work. And I had my doubts, but it worked. And, sometimes when we play a song for the first time, it doesn't always work, but eventually it sure does. He's really impressive.
I
So yeah, he plays the drums and the keyboards at the same time and plays harmony and and sings harmony. And once in a while, I'll pick up a mandolin and pick a mandolin while he's kicking on the kick drum. And for Valentine's Day of 2020, he even actually played the trumpet and the drums at the same time. And we busted into a little a Johnny Cash, and it was a hoot.
cool. I forget what musician or comedian uh, said the line, playing two instruments at a time is pretty cool. Playing three is weird. And
Yeah, yeah.
just
I
kind
asked him. I asked him how he does it, and he said the best way to do it is just not think about it. If he starts thinking about what he's doing, then he runs into a little trouble. So he
yeah,
just doesn't think about it and just plays and lets it roll.
I did a bass in a harmonica once, and my bandmate said, I've never seen a bass player play harmonica at the same time. And
That is cool.
it is different, but it worked.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, we are excited about you coming back, and thank you very much for taking our Great River Folksinger Factoid survey. Okay, now what
Yes.
I'm doing was I've been first of all, I went through all the 12 finalist singer-songwriters this year, and then I've talked to Humbird, and I talked to Jake Labatz, and you're going to be able to meet him on Sunday because you're doing your workshops on Sunday, I believe.
Cool. Yes.
Jake is coming in, and Jake has a unique style to a point where I might call him like a little bit of a Tom Waits kind of a approach to him. So
Wow. Right on.
got an interesting sense of humor too. So I think I have you and him in a workshop, and I don't think I'm going to miss it. On a Sunday. All right. Well, the factoid questionnaire, the first one starts with most of the songwriters have never been to lacrosse, but you've been to lacrosse.
I
So
have.
I have the two questions. Have you seen the giant six pack?
I don't believe I have.
Really? I
I
think
don't know.
I think you've driven by it and you've never known.
Yeah.
So, because have you been to Dave's Guitar Shop?
Yes, I have. I have.
The road to Dave's Guitar Shop. So, yeah, one of the things I remember from my youth is uh, old style, and this was God's Country. And then some of those commercials,
Sure.
they showed the giant six pack during the commercial because they're the first ones who wrapped six brewing canisters outside or cylinders outside to make them look like the giant six pack.
That's cool. I'll definitely be checking that out. I'm surprised that I'll probably see it and be like, oh, that's what Dave was talking about. Yeah.
Dave was talking about
But
it.
it sounds like something I shouldn't have forgotten if I saw it.
Well, it probably get into a line of your one of your songs in the future.
All right.
All right, here's our legend quiz. And you know all these people, it's not right or wrong. It's just your first impression. Bob Dylan or John Prine?
Brian,
Joni Mitchell or Carole King?
Joni,
Joni.
Joni.
Yeah, the video went off. I thought, oh, geez, I offended him.
No, yeah, it was telling me I'm low on percentage. So, but we'll be all right.
Robert Cray or BB King?
Just BB for the locality. I don't know. I don't know much about Robert Cray, unfortunately. That's lame, I know.
Yeah, they're both Grammy winners. And I don't know as much as BB King as I should because I've always been a Robert Cray guy. All right, the last one. Brandy Carlisle or Gillian Welch?
Wow, that one's really tough. Brandon Carla is like my favorite right now, but Gillian Welch is like old school. But
She's old
I'll,
school. She hasn't been
I'll
around.
go. I'll go with Brandy.
All right. Okay, when you write, because I know you write well, Cody. You write some great songs. You write mid morning, midday, evening, afternoon, when the muse hits. Do you have a practice?
I don't. I've kind of been kind of slow in this last 15 months. It's been really like thinking them out, making sure they're right before I start sharing them with people, which I don't know if it's a good approach or not. But I kind of feel like if the morning passes, then I don't not much happens. So I like to get on it early when I can. Definitely more of the early in the day thing. But I'm always coming up with ideas. You wanna know what was really weird? It was like I wasn't having a lot of ideas or writing a lot of songs when I was at home. And then once we got back in the car in the van and started touring again, like I started getting all these ideas. So I guess it's, I got to be out amongst the folks to write my folk songs.
And and now,
But I don't. It's hard to explain.
well, then I would assume that external kind of connection is your prompt, and you're not a kind of a person that says, "I'm going to just find a word and write on it as a prompt."
Yeah, I've had a lot of people say if you're a writer writes, so you got to write every day. And I kind of go out and adventure out into the world and gather things, and then I kind of bring them home. And I might not write every day. I might go a few days without opening up the notebook, but the ideas are still flowing. And then eventually, I start putting them all together. And I don't know, when I was younger, I used to like drive to the gig and I would have a new song by the time in between leaving the house and getting to the gig, I'd have a new song. It wasn't a great song, but it was an okay song. And I don't know what happened. That doesn't happen to me anymore. I have to work a lot harder these days. It's kind of a bummer, but it is
I,
what it is.
I think you probably exhausted all your family members.
Yeah, I pretty much have. Pretty much have.
You're a distant cousin that you could write a song about.
I have some very interesting and unique family members that well will never run dry.
That's good. And by the virtue of you saying that you write them down, are you still a paper guy?
I am paper guy, pen and paper.
You have a lot of do you have a lot of books yet that you haven't thrown away and stacked up in the corner that you refer to?
I do. Yeah, a lot of them in the garage. It's probably about time to go through them all again and see if I missed something in there, you know. But yeah, I keep all the old notebooks for sure. And you know, we a lot of times we write our set lists on pizza boxes and napkins, and I get some ideas. I try to do that too. You know, I have the little thing in my phone, the notebook in my phone, but it's just not the same. I like to actually write it out, you know.
Well, that saved me from jotting song lyrics that came in my head while I'm in the car while I was driving. That's what the phone is for, so that
Yeah,
you can dictate it to yourself.
absolutely. I used to tell myself if it's really good, I'll remember.
Ooh.
But that's not the case anymore. I'm too old to just remember everything.
Yeah, it's like, do you need reading glasses yet?
Yeah, no, but I gotta write it down to remember it anymore.
Okay, so now you have a big library of songs.
Hmm.
Can you pick one song that you would frame and put on a wall?
Actually, my mom and her boyfriend actually did frame my song Backseat and gave it to my wife and I as like an anniversary gift.
Wow.
So
Okay.
with with the lyrics and everything. So I actually have
You
a
have
framed song of mine in my home,
what color
and
is
with a
it?
picture in my wife. But so I would say that one or the $20 bill. That's the one I wrote for my grandparents.
That
If
was
I was if I was gonna put another one next to the one that I have.
um, who would you like to thank as your writing coach or your best writing coach? Maybe you've had a lot of them, and you don't even have to know them, but who do you think has been that most influential person then?
You mentioned Tom Waits a while ago. There was a time long before my wife came along where it was just me getting in the car every night with Tom Waits
Wow.
after the gig. He was my date, just me and Tom Waits, you know, leaving the show and riding home. And so he's always had an amazing way of words. I think Prine's definitely my hero and my favorite, but Tom Waits just has a way with words too that really connected to me. Overall, though, there's a guy who lives down here by me. His name's Edward David Anderson, and he's a fantastic songwriter. Um, and he really motivates me because he just writes amazing songs. You know, he writes a lot of songs, and he's really dedicated. And he doesn't let the world hear any bad songs. I don't know if he writes any bad songs, but if he does, he doesn't let the world hear them. But he has the gift mixed with the work ethic, and I think he motivates me because he's like the other songwriter in our area. There's not too many of us, you know, but he's the one, and I'm like, oh man, he just wrote a really good song. Now I got to go write a really good song. And so it's not a competition, but it's kind of a camaraderie. And we used to play every Wednesday night at this place together, and every week he would bring all these like new songs to the table and share them, and they were all good. And I was still playing my songs from a couple years ago, and he really made me bear down. And I went home and pretty much wrote the whole back and forth album like in a month, I guess, after that. So
Well, you got to share me his contact name so I can
yeah, he's fantastic.
kind of follow him. Maybe we can get him up to the fest sometime. So,
Absolutely.
we've had a history of having some great Chicago artists. Art.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you knew Art Theme from Chicago back in the old days.
I don't think if I do, I don't know if I do.
I should share with you some of his stuff because I do think of you as a troubadour that can go from a poignant song to a funny song. And
Hmm.
Art was the same way, but he of course would throw a few puns in the middle of it too. So
Right on.
yeah, so I should share with it. He's history from a Great River Folk Fest, but I also was born and raised in Manitowoc, and my friend Fritz Schuler would have him up there all the time in a kind of a house concert setting. All right.
That's one cool thing about digital is you can just if you have a recommendation, I can just go type it in and
Oh yeah.
instantly be listening. You know, I'll give digital that. It's kind of cool.
And I don't know if you ever heard of Mud Cat Cafe, but he was always that traditional historical guy that would uh, pull pieces apart and tell you about the history of them and why the cow fell off the barge and crossing the Illinois River someday. It's some real strange stories.
Nice. That's cool. Sounds up my alley.
7 words you would tell your 10-year-old self. I'm not asking how old you are, but you go back in time. What would you tell your 10-year-old self?
Hmm. That's a good question. 10-year-old self.
And if it isn't 7 words, what's your recollection? What's your short kind of tell? Mary Kimber?
Make sure you always eat the Cheetos.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
First, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right now I've been sitting at home for the last 15 months and I don't know, man. I put on some pounds and I can't eat the Cheetos anymore. So I wish I would have eaten more when I was a kid.
Man, it's so easy to burn it off when you're a kid.
All right.
Well, that was the survey. So I hope that was a little fun for you. But you were going through your artist kind of influences and people who are, but I tend to describe you as kind of a second coming of Arlo Guthrie at times. The fact that you can go from a story to a song during a song and then move to the next song smoothly and effortlessly. And if people haven't seen you, Cody, they got to get out and about and catch Chicago Farmer. So you're a treat. There's no.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, when I first moved to Chicago, I had about 6 roommates, and that's the truth. And I was gonna kind of be in a band with these guys, and I love them. They were my dear friends, but just being with the same 6 people every day in one apartment. But that's the only way we could survive in Chicago is if we did it that way. But so I got out of the house a lot and I started hanging out at the Old Town School of Folk Music, and I took harmonica lessons there. And that's really where I started getting into the Arlo and the John Prine and stuff like that, and Joni Mitchell and all those legends. And so I'm really grateful being a small town kid from a town of 1,700 people that I could, go to the Old Town School of Folk Music in Chicago and learn how to play some harmonica and learn about, all the great folk musicians and blues musicians that came before me. And I'm definitely grateful for that.
Well, and talking about Jake Labatz earlier, he's actually he calls Chicago hometown. So it's been
cool.
up in Winona, Minnesota now, but Steve Buscemi has a review of him on his website. So
right on.
Yeah, it's like, that skinny guy that, he kind of.
That's cool.
So you have any questions for me before we take off?
No, thank you so much. And I really just had so much fun every time I come to La Crosse. But the Great River Folk Festival was just like, I'll be honest, it was one that I hadn't heard much about. And I was so excited to get the invite. And then when I got there, I was just so blown away. All the performances and the setup. And I remember you had me do those workshops, and I was like, I don't know about these workshops. And the workshops turned into be one of my favorite things about the whole festival. So I'd highly encourage everybody to come check it out. It's really a great laid back festival. Great people are putting it on, and great performers always. And the workshops are great. You not only get the actual performance, but you get a little behind the scenes and learn a little bit more than you can in just 60 minutes for a regular set. So lots of great crafts and vendors too. And art. I love it, man.
Yeah, we have our beers aren't $13 either.
And the beers are not $13. That's the cherry on top.
But
they're local beers.
Yes, their local Pearl Street beer. Yeah, so
Love it. Love it.
yeah, it's a. I remember I've had to call them round robins because people get really nervous about workshops. You know,
Oh,
thinking
that's true. Yeah.
like they get real nervous. Do I have to teach people? What do I have to do? I said, no, just sit back, relax. It's a round robin song swap. So,
Uh-huh.
I remember the year that you were there. My friend Natalie Gelman was like seemingly
Right.
every workshop, and she'd have to follow you, and she'd go. It's like I don't have funny, so
She had the voice songs to back herself up. She didn't need anything else.
she recently got hooked up with a label too, so she's pretty
Oh, good for her. She was really cool. Yeah, I've met so many great. I was just at the festival once. Met so many great people.
well. You know, it's a journey. We're going to be on our 45th year, so
So cool.
I'm planning to be around at least till 50. You know, because I want to hit that
Yeah.
anniversary. So I have a few more years in me. I'm retiring next year, so that's
Oh, congrats.
yeah. So I'm going to be able to sit back and relax and actually work on this in my spare time instead of my my other time. So
Good for you. Well, thank you for everything you do at the festival and the Bluffview concerts too, and really turning a lot of people on into music that in that area that they otherwise probably wouldn't have ever come across. So we appreciate you.
well, and say hi to Kimber, and Lori says hi. So
Hey, hey.
uh, and we'd book you again for a Bluffview house concert. You know, no
All
doubt.
right.
So
Well, as Lori taught me one time when it's about to say goodbye, it's I suppose.
yeah, that's right. I suppose we should get going.
All right, I suppose.
So all you people, uh, come and see Chicago Farmer, and Cody is a great guy. So thank you very much for the interview, and we'll see you at the fest.